Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Hopefully now you can hear me all right. As always, sorry for the delay. I'll say the times I set, they're normally more suggestions than they are outright. Guaranteed starting points. So I take them more as that than any official. But we're going now. We're starting. Let's see who we've got in the chat. So we've got RMG, Metacraft, Doctor Who Boy, Muffled, Alex Rooney, Composer, that's everyone so far, Bile, Nova Wolf Gaming, Swirly Bird, hello to all of you, how you doing? Bendowski, Doctor Who World, good afternoon. Atomize, odd way of saying you're late. Look, a leak king is never late, everyone else is simply early. Joey Underwood, Matthew Macy, Hux Media, DST 2021, Reagan, Rocketeer, how are you all doing? Oh, we already got a bit of lag, that's not a good start. I only woke up 2 hours ago, respect that. You know what? My sleeping patterns are all very messed up, so I do not blame you. Particularly hello to Steve Crosby, just say when. Hello. Do me a favour, give the stream a like if you haven't already, be very much appreciated. We've got a few final Doctor Who Series 13 or Flux news items to go over, and I look forward to discussing them all with you. This is just going to be about a short stream, about half hour long, just to discuss a couple things, and then we're going to leave it, because the next time you see me, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Series 13 will have aired, and I'll be giving my thoughts. I've got a big plan for Series 13 content. You're going to be sick of me. It's going to be a lot. I'd also like to quickly, before we get into the news, give you all a thank you for supporting the latest video. The series I'm affectionately titling Tharries Theories. It did really well. I'm really pleased with the performance of that. I went through basically a period of thinking the only way people would ever watch any of my content was if it had a massive word of leak in the title. So I appreciated that you all seemed to enjoy that one very much. Mr. TARDIS says live streams, they'll never catch on. Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a risky move, isn't it, really? Probably shouldn't do it. Probably be better off just not bothering. But yeah, anyway, let's go over just a couple of news items. Now we've got a few people in. Thank you all for joining. It's been very fun so far. Here we go. So our first bit of news is there's no use being squeamish. We've got the future to save. Check out the amazing artwork for the Doctor Who Flux Steelbook made by Alice XZ. So here we can see the beautiful Steelbook artwork. It looks really nice, I will say. I've never bought any of the Steelbooks, but this does look really nice. We can see here there's a link to the Amazon listing, which if opened shows us the DVD case in more detail. I'm going to be honest when I say I don't really know the going rates for Steelbooks. However, I'd say nearly £40 for 6 episodes seems a little bit steep to me, but if it's worth it to you, fair enough. But it does look very nice, and I can definitely see the appeal. That's our first bit of news. Smaller news items, but we're working our way up. We're getting to the bigger stuff, I guess. I mean, there isn't as much big stuff now because we're right at the tail end, but there are a couple of little things I haven't talked about. Chris Chibnall spoke about Doctor Who Flux in a recent interview for Doctor Who TV. Chris Chibnall talks more about making the 13th series of Doctor Who Flux. Read more below. Doctor Who Flux premieres on the 31st of October. Find out where to watch here. Jodie Whittaker, Amanda Gill, John Bishop, and Jacob Anderson star in an epic 6-part adventure which will take the Doctor and her friends to the edge of the universe and beyond, in a battle for survival packed with action, humour, terrifying new villains, and iconic returning monsters such as the Sontarans and Weeping Angels. The new series of Doctor Who tells one story across a vast canvas. It features a host of acclaimed British acting talent, including Rochendaya Sandor, Annabelle Scully, Craig Parkinson, Kevin McNally, Sam Spurrell, Robert Bathurst, Steve Oram, Thadia Graham. I'm hoping I'm saying all those names right. From Liverpool to the death of Sace via the Crimean War. I think I've mostly read all this, but yeah, we'll get into the actual Chibnall quote. What was your vision for the series? My vision for the series was to create a massive story, bigger than we've ever told with Jodie's Doctor. and to start with an episode that feels like a finale and carry on from there and play out the rest of that story. I wanted it to be really epic, to be fun with lots of cliffhangers, to be surprising, and really do things we haven't seen done with the 30th Doctor yet. What can people expect from the series? People can expect a rollercoaster of a ride. Very different episodes, 6 very specific chapters, lots of different places in time and space, lots of returning monsters, some really brilliant guest stars, some brand new monsters, and some of my favourite cliffhangers we've done. How do you write new characters / monsters? I think you're always thinking, who is interesting for the Doctor to come up against? Who is going to reveal new things about the Doctor? But with villains and monsters, you're generally looking for an interesting visual, an interesting idea, that will be a fun mix of both underlying character that will be great for an actor to play or great for the Doctor, Dan, or Yaz to be up against. Who are the Ravagers? They are a couple of characters who we meet who are creatures of another dimension who have a history with the Doctor. So that's basically confirming that they are, as they're not in this article, the 2 diamondy people. There's 2 of them. I assume that's what that confirms. But I even think that's giving too much away. Why is it important to... I think some of this has been in other Radio Times articles we've looked at, but this is the whole thing. First of all, it's a joy. I always think it's lovely to connect back into the history of the show, as the history is so rich and varied. Bringing back the Sontarans was a story I really wanted to do. I felt like there hadn't been a big Sontaran story... where was that? For quite a long time. They have a great mix of threat and humour. They're very identifiable, they're great characters, as well as a brilliant creation by Robert Holmes. They're great, they have range, they're dangerous, they're violent, they're also funny, and that's a great mix for Doctor Who. With the Weeping Angels, I really wanted Jodie to come up against them, and we've been thinking about a story for a long time, testing out ideas. They are genuinely scary and a brilliant creation by Stephen Moffat, and they hadn't been in a main Doctor Who story for 9 years, so they would do a comeback as well. There's lots of ideas you can explore around Weeping Angels, so we've had a lot of fun with them. Can you tease about what the Flux is? The title of the serial is Flux, it's divided into 6 chapters, and the Flux is a mysterious event that is going to have an effect on all characters in the story. So, interesting there, Flux is an event, not a creature or a character, which some people did speculate. But yeah, an interesting interview with Chris Chibnall. It's nice to actually hear some of his thought processes behind the series. I'd love to see more behind the scenes stuff from this era, genuinely, I think. I'd love to know some of the creative processes that lead to certain things, just out of curiosity, really. We've got another Radio Times exclusive. I believe this was an exclusive. Jodie Whittaker and Amanda Gill on Doctor Who Series 13 and what it's like to leave the TARDIS behind. The big Radio Times interview, or RT interview. Time is running out for the Doctor and Yaz as the Doctor, as Doctor Who returns, but their adventures with the new TARDIS traveller John Bishop are just beginning. For departing Doctor Who star Jodie Whittaker, the clock is ticking. I'm still very much the Doctor. I will be until I'm no longer on screen as the Doctor, she says as she wraps up filming on her final episode, roughly a year before viewers see her regenerate into whomever comes next. When it's my last day shooting, that'll feel like a huge part of my... Okay, so this is from the radio interview. A huge part of my life is over, but as far as being the Doctor, I get to drag it out for as long as they keep the episodes on for. It's only now in the last week that there's also been some sheer said as adds Whittaker co-star Amanda Gill, who played Yaz since 2018. There is definitely something in the air now. We realise what we've been doing is coming to an end. Whittaker's departure from Doctor Who was probably the worst kept secret in show business. I mean, have you seen Spider-Man No Way Home? Not to downplay Doctor Who at all, but I mean, have you seen all the No Way Home leaks? Anyway, with stories about her springing up months before she confirmed was leaving, alongside showrunner Chris Chibnall. Chris and I were always planning on doing 3 series together, but when you get into it, it's a very different thing, she says. Sometimes I was like, are we sticking to this decision? There's part of me that could absolutely say yes. No, let's keep going, sorry, not yes. No, let's keep going, let's go back into it. But to give fans the level that they deserve, there has to be some sacrifice. You have to know when you've done it. Her departure is still a long way off, with 3 scheduled specials in 2022, following Whittaker's 3rd series in the TARDIS, which starts this week. Truncated due to COVID from 10 episodes to 6, and featuring a mysterious catastrophe that sends the Doctor zipping across time and space. Their new series is what they're here to discuss. Hypothetical tears wiped away, Whittaker and Gill get to business. We haven't been able to get to very many places, just Liverpool and parts of beautiful Wales, Gill says, so the sets have to get bigger, and the prosthetics are bigger. The monster's old and new, everything's had to go to a new level, and I naturally think it does have to get to a massive climax. Climax, I'm sorry, it was just a very easy joke. New monsters include the Ravagers and Carvanista, while some old baddies already confirmed to be back include the potato-like Sontarans, whose rusty redesign Gill says is so cute, and fan favourite living statues, the Weeping Angels. They are genuinely terrifying, whether it's being played by an actor or if it's a statue, or either one. It's creepy, says Whittaker. But monster redesigns aren't the biggest change this year. Instead of the team of writers assembling a familiar mix of standalone episodes and two-parters, the entire 6-part series, Flux, penned by Chris Chibnall, with returning writer Maxine Alderton co-writing episode 4, is serialised, a creative decision forced by COVID, but now embraced by the cast and crew. Obviously, for Doctor Who fans, there's been a lot of versions over the years. There's serialisation, there's one-off episodes, says Whittaker, but in this, we're ending episodes where their literally next beat will be a week later. We're still going to do different time periods and facing different monsters, but now there's bubbling over the storylines, and it all builds like a slow pan on the hob. Guest actors include Line of Duty's Craig Parkinson and Roger Sandal, the In-Betweeners Blake Harrison, Pirate Caribbean's Kevin McNally, and many more, but the most significant fresh face is new companion John Bishop, who encounters the Doctor and Yaz in the first episode, and stays on board the TARDIS across the series. Mandip and I were so close to Tosin, Cole, who played Ryan, and Brad, who played Graham, but it's been an amazing transition, says Whittaker. It's just been a wonderful thing to end with for me, the same kind of friendship and family feeling. Whittaker and Gill finished the Regeneration episode in mid-October, followed by a fancy dress-up party, Whittaker dressed as Spider-Man and Mandip Gill as Kim Kardashian. But already the future of Doctor Who seems secure, thanks to the biggest surprise twist in Who history, the return of Russell T Davies, who unsheared the programme into the 21st century, ushered the programme into the 21st century as showrunner from 2005 to 2010, and brought in writers including Chris Chibnall. He takes back the reins from Chibnall for the 60th anniversary in 2023. And then there's the quote about everyone being excited about Russell, which I'll read again. Everyone excited about Russell, says Gill. For me, it's so exciting and a relief to know it's going to safe hands, but we still have a year of what we're doing. There's so much before that even happens. And then there's this image, which I believe, I don't know where else this was found, but yeah, I've seen this one flying around and I couldn't find the original source, so I assume, I mean, it says BBC, so I assume they released it somewhere, but it's quite an interesting image, like a behind-the-scenes shot. In fact, if I open image in new tab, I can sort of get a better look at it there. You can sort of see it's Jodie, and also, interestingly, the rainbow wraps around the back of the top, which is interesting, which I don't think has happened before. So that's an interesting little costume design change. Yeah, interesting stuff. Apparently the casting of the new Doctor will be announced in due course, and Whittaker says that she has no idea who her successor will be. But could Yaz be back with the new Time Lord? And then there's the quote about, obviously, her never saying never, which they kind of all have to say, because it's kind of just customary for them to, even if they're probably not. As Whittaker prepares to hang up her Who costume for good, she's starting to grapple with her legacy. This job has been, and continues to be, just extraordinary. And the thing is, I don't know, it doesn't end at the end anyway, because you're always the Doctor, you're always someone's favourite Doctor, and what a wonderful thing that is to treasure forever. Frankly, I can dine out on this forever. So yeah, that's another really interesting thing. Again, I think we've heard a lot of the same things sort of spliced into other interviews, other articles, but this is the whole thing. So I'm basically just wrapping up on all the things that I may have missed, because they talk there about the Weeping Angels and the Sontarans, which I don't believe I've read before, so yeah. And then there's one more, which talks about what the warning was that Jodie got from David Tennant, so I can talk a bit about that. I hope you're all enjoying the stream, by the way. Thanks for tuning in. I'm not ignoring you guys, it's just, you know, I'm getting in my groove. You can sense the BBC Press Department sniper rifle on Chibnall right now. Yeah, absolutely. When the Chibnall interview was happening, yeah, most definitely. Right, next bit. Jodie Whittaker reveals the Doctor Who warning she got from Doctor Who star David Tennant. As the 30th Doctor prepares for her exit, she's been thinking back on some wise words from the 10th. This is by Joe Julians. This weekend sees the long-awaited return of Doctor Who for Series 13, or Doctor Who Flux, as it's been officially titled. This is the first in a 6-part episode series. Will be airing on BBC One this Sunday night, 31st of October, and as expected, there's been a lot of chatter about the build-up to it. The Doctor herself, Jodie Whittaker, has weighed in ahead of what will be her last series, revealing the word of warning she received from the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. Was I announced in 2017? Yeah. It's like, for me, it's as if I've been here for 3 years, I've done 3 seasons, but it's been much longer than that. Whittaker told the Radio Times, and actually it's gone quickly, and I remember this was one thing I remember David Tennant saying to me before I started shooting. He said, "This will go quickly. It will feel like it goes in a whirlwind." She added, and it has. I think it's been one of the thing that I'm eternally grateful for, and I think I can speak for Amanda Gill in this when I say, we have always been aware of how ace it is. As much as you can be in the chaos and it's mad, it's a whirlwind. Any film set is, but this is particularly mad. It's been a really joyous thing, and it's gone so quick, but it's like so rich, full of wonderful experiences. Whittaker's time in the TARDIS may nearly be up, but we still have the 6-episode new series to watch first, along with a series of specials that will lead into her ultimate episode, and the announcement of her replacement in 2022. After that, it's the return of Russell T Davies. So there you go, there's the final bit of Radio Times-ness going on. We do have a couple of other little things that I might as well bring attention to. Mainly these Halloween short videos, which I can't play. No, I'm not going to play you because you'll copyright claim me. But the first one was a challenge video. This one where they had to catch sweets in a cauldron. And then the second one was Jodie talking about what prank she would play on Mandip here. So very interesting stuff. We've obviously had a couple more promo images as well, little things with Mandip and obviously Jodie. So basically with each day that Flux got closer, they cycled through the main cast. So it started out with, let me see if I can find it, John Bishop with this pan, which is a very comedic image. I've seen some great edits of this. One that was done by a friend of mine, Shay, did a Wii Sports edit of this, which I found hilarious. And then obviously they cycled through each companion, so we got Yaz and then the Doctor at the end. So a couple of interesting things. I guess now we get to the part of the stream where I talk for a little bit, I guess, and just tell you where I'm at, I guess, with my final thoughts on Series 13 and on... Whoop, the door just slammed, oh my god. I just jumped out my skin. So to talk a bit about my final thoughts on this series before it starts, essentially, I'm feeling here's the thing, many of you will know I'm not a biggest fan of this era, of this current crew and production and stuff like that. However, I'll say the trailer looked really promising. I'm going in with the best. I'm going with an open mind, is what I'll say. I'm hoping for the best, preparing for the worst, all that sort of stuff. I'm trying to keep my expectations relatively in check, because I am aware that this is a Chibnall written series, and for me, he's not the strongest writer. However, who knows? I mean, I did watch Orphan 55 yesterday, and that sort of brought me down to earth a little bit. This is still a Chibnall thing, ultimately. But I'm looking forward. I think I'm just looking forward to having new Doctor Who to talk about, regardless of its relative quality. I'm just looking forward to having more new things to talk about, because any long-running Doctor Who channel will tell you that trying to think of things to do as a Doctor Who channel in the show's off period is a bit of a nightmare. So I'm looking forward to not having to think about what my next few videos are, because I'll already have content there to discuss. So on that level, from a purely content creator perspective, I'm looking forward to that. Series itself, it'll be what it'll be. I think I said in my JXE stream I did a little while back, I think I'm at peace with Doctor Who now. You might not believe it, given my Twitter, I guess, because I'm apparently I'm like one of the most controversial people on Doctor Who Twitter, which is quite amusing to me because most of the time I don't even intend it really. But I'm relatively at peace with Doctor Who now because I know that whatever this series is, you know, we've got RTD coming back, which is all you could really want in terms of like securing the show and having it be in a good place. So I'm not really concerned too much with what Series 13 does, as I would be with like Series 12 and stuff. Like when I found out that Series 12 was going to be dealing with the lore, I was like, oh, you know, all that sort of stuff. It was really nervy and I didn't really like what it did. But with Series 13, I feel like a lot more of that pressure is off because we know something. We know the show is safe and we know that, you know. Oh yeah, and I know that Orphan 55 was written by Ed Heim. I'm just saying that it encapsulated a lot of the issues I have with the Chibnall era as a whole. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying it's a reflection on Chibnall's writing. I'm just saying it put me in the mindset of this is still the Chibnall era of Doctor Who. It still has some pretty glaring issues, is what I'm trying to say. Simon Alf says, I saw an article where Jodie Whittaker said that there was a lot of silence in Flux, as in the show not telling, which has got me quite excited. Yes and no. In that regard, I've heard of them saying a lot like, ooh, some things get answered, but some things don't. And I'm like, that's great, but at the same time, like, this is your last series. I feel like most things do have to be wrapped up. Obviously, we've got the specials as well, and they might wrap some things up there, but I kind of do want the majority of it to be wrapped up in this series. That's just me. Someone else that say there was something else I wanted to. We do need to draw a line with this series. It's not going to be great, but Chibnall is not the weakest writer in the era, and they aren't writing for this series, so fingers crossed. Yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I'm hoping it'll be good, but expecting it won't be. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good stance to have. Just go in with the lowest expectations you can have, and I think, you know, it'll stop any of us from being disappointed. Obviously, I'll still criticize things if I think they're wrong, not wrong, but badly executed or whatever. But I'm also not going to be like, this is terrible. You know, I'm not going to be ranting about it because, you know what I mean? Like, is it confirmed that Mandip Gill's leaving? As close as it could be to being confirmed without being confirmed, by which I mean it's very, very, very likely. Now, I think they should leave some things open so Better Eyes can conclude those stories. The thing is, I kind of feel like with RTD, though, we need a complete fresh slate. And I feel like the only way you could do that is to kind of wrap up anything this era has done. And that's not me saying that that it's also terrible that it can't be carried forward. I'm also saying that for the show, it's in the show's best interest to reinvent itself quite thoroughly next time, I think. RTD is literally SpongeBob at the end of the 2000s film as the wizard. Oh, that's funny. I think Mandip Gill and John Bishop will stay on till Series 15. I doubt it. Especially not John Bishop, given how much, like, his comedy tour, you know, happens. And, like, the only reason he was able to do Series 13 was because, you know, COVID changed his plans and stuff. But that's not always going to be the case, theoretically. I think Chibnall is the second worst showrunner. The first worst is the one that nearly got the show cancelled. Which one would that be? I guess my internet went out. Do you mind reading my comments again? Which one? Which one do you want me to read? Oh dear. Apparently I'm lagging out a bit. She was one of the best companions. As in Mandip Gill, in this era, I mean, probably, but it's mainly down to the fact that, like, she was there the longest. Apparently, it's not receiving enough video information to remain smooth. I don't know why, but who knows? Hopefully, we can just power through the lag. I apologize. RTD will probably do the twist of the half-human idea. He probably just won't acknowledge it. Yeah, that's what I think will happen more than anything else. I think it'll just largely be kind of one of those throwaway line type deals. Yeah. I finished the Chippewa on Monday. It's nowhere near as bad as I remembered. It was actually really enjoyable. Fair enough. Yeah, like I will say for me, like it's not something that gets better for me on rewatch, but I appreciate that for some people it is. By the way, if you are enjoying the stream, please do give it a like. I realise it was a bit of a random time to start streaming, but hopefully, you guys can, if anyone isn't here, can catch up on this. Yeah, so that's stuff, things happening, all good. Yeah, I think Orphan 55 maybe just got my expectations low, which is probably for the best, really. There's this interesting thing on Twitter, which I'd like to bring up, and someone's saying, basically, it's Max Curtis on Twitter, and he's saying predict the ratings. So I had a stab at it, you can see here. I put 4.5 million overnight, 6.2 million consolidated. So that's referring to like the 7-day figure, and that's what I meant by consolidated, was that the 7-day figure. Now, obviously, everyone's going to have their different perspective on this. I did my research on previous series, and I concluded that the start of this series, to me, it might be slightly lower than Series 12, but not so low that it's oh my god, it's doing terribly. Now, some people think that's too high, some people think that's too low, but what I want to ask, I thought it'd be an interesting experiment to ask you all what you thought the ratings for Doctor Who Series 13 would be. I thought that would be a fun little exercise. Jean-Luc says, it's lagging because Wales is just a massive field in the middle of nowhere. Wrong. They do count iPlayer views for ratings. I think it's a shame Mr. TARDIS isn't in here now. He might still be, I don't know. But I think there's an option from what I've seen for +4 screens, which is iPlayer or something. But yeah, okay, so to simplify the question, what do you guys think the ratings will be? Let's just start with overnight. So the overnight figure, what are we thinking? I put 4.5. Tharries, I have a new series of title sequences for my new Doctor. Very interesting. I'll be sure to take that a look. I think you got the ratings bang on, TBH. Well, thank you. I think 4.5 million overnight is pretty fair, and I think 6.2 million consolidated is also pretty fair. Slightly lower than Spyfall Part 1, but still decent, and just below things like Revolution as well. I think there might be boosts for things like the Sontaran episode. It's interesting as well because we're in uncharted territory in so much as we don't really know how Halloween's going to affect things. We don't know whether it's going to be to the benefit or the detriment of the series. So that's an interesting factor to consider as well. 4.7 million overnight, 6 million 7 days. I think that's a pretty good guess, pretty solid guess. I think it's gonna range between that 4 to 5 million overnight range. I can't see it going far beyond that. Not for, because I think the thing is, I saw someone on Twitter today, and obviously I'm not going to say any names or anything because I don't like to call people out. But they were saying how it should be getting 10 million an episode, and I'm like, guys, we've got to be realistic about this, okay? And his argument was that, Woman Who Fell to Earth got 10 million viewers. Firstly, there was a myriad of reasons why that was the case. It was the first episode ever with a female Doctor, so naturally people were curious about that. It was a whole new production team. It was also in a much more safe slot as well. It wasn't on a Halloween, which for all we know, the kids might all be out. We don't really know how that's going to affect things yet. There's also the fact that viewing habits vary from 2018 to 2021. There's so many varying factors that lead to viewing figures. So to treat it all as one blank slate, or one blanket term, I think is kind of silly in my mind. Are my comments hidden? I don't believe they are. I don't think they are. 4 million overnight, 5.37 day. That's fair. I think the 7 days a bit low. No, not quality rating. Yeah, no, viewing figures here. we have to remember for overnight that people will be trick-or-treating, exactly. Which is why I don't think it'll be above, like, 5, like, maximum. 22 million overnight, I think it's reasonable. Yeah. There will be an initial boost due to the marketing. I'm predicting gradual shift downwards over the series. That's the thing. As much as, like, you know, we all say that the marketing is good now because they actually gave us stuff, it only really kicked in over the last 2 weeks. And the jury's still out as to whether that'll be a good decision or a detrimental decision. Hopefully, obviously, it'll be a good decision, but we can't guarantee that that'll be the case. It could be a really poor decision. We don't know. 10 million is crazy. That's definitely not happening. Exactly. You know, like, there's a lot of people predicting, like 6 or 7 million overnights, and I just can't see it doing that. Maybe the Halloween gimmick will get enough to maybe get people watching. Like, maybe it is the perfect slot for Doctor Who, you know. Maybe it is the perfect slot for Doctor Who. Maybe, you know, it just gets you in the spirit. Oh, a show about aliens and monsters, let's put it on Halloween. But I'm not sure. Hey Thukis, that's my old Twitter name. Currently enjoying for Halloween with my friends and family. Good for you, man. My family have never been particularly into Halloween, so I'm not really doing anything for it beyond watching Doctor Who and streaming and talking about it, because of course I will be. I do have a fun plan for tomorrow though that sort of ties into the whole Halloween thing, I guess. But hopefully I've ordered something which will be a surprise for you guys. And I'm just hoping that the final part of it comes so I could do my little surprise for Halloween. If not, I'll figure out something else. But hopefully it will off. I wonder if the Sontarans in this new series are going to say Sontaha. I hope not. I think one of my biggest issues with the RTD era was his need to catchphrase everything and make everything a bit more, I guess the word would be toyetic, you know, giving everything a catchphrase so it can be easily marketed to kids. Don't get me wrong, I understood the logic behind it, but I think for certain monsters it kind of made them a bit too Dalek-y. I think the Cybermen are a perfect example with delete and stuff. I think Chapter 2 will rise to about 5.5 million overnight. I agree that I think Episode 2 will have a slight bump on Episode 1, I think. Because it's the Sontarans and it's also not on Halloween. But I don't know whether I'd go as far as to say, it would be too big? I don't know, it's a difficult... thing is, 10 million isn't really a thing for Doctor Who at this point. Initially, you might get viewership like that for first outings, but folks don't crowd around for the TV ratings like they used to be. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. It's totally unrealistic to expect that consistently. I wonder if people will shit off in droves. I doubt it. It'll be like what Series 12's one was, just a slow decline. It really does depend as well on what the finale does, because in terms of where the series ends up, because, you know, some finales, if they're good, they can actually cause a spike in viewing figures, but something like Timeless Children, for example, that did have one of the lowest viewed episodes of the revival. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Was here at the start, but my electricity got turned off for half an hour, so I missed it. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Gutted for you. Do you think the Drashids from Carnival of Monsters will return? No, not anytime soon. I think it will have a lot better ratings, mainly because people I know have no interest in the show, wanting to watch it and find out what the Flux is. You could be right. I hope you are right. I mean, I will say I think the marketing presence is slightly stronger than that of Series 12, so there's that. Will Davros come back in the new Cybermen? The new Cybermen have confirmed to be coming back. They're in the trailer. As for Davros, no idea. Maybe in the New Year special, but we don't know. Gambling on the serial nature, keeping the viewers, I guess. Yeah, I think that's also something. We've got to consider with the ratings. Is will the serialized nature make more people want to tune in consistently each week? You know, there's a lot of questions that we don't really know the answers to, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects things. The finale figures really depend on the casual audiences invested in the arc. True. Very true. Because Series 12, they definitely won. Are the first 2 episodes of Series 13 directed by Chibnall? Chibnall doesn't direct episodes, he just, he's the executive producer, or one of them. I think Matt Stevens is the other one. The first episode, I believe, the first 2 episodes, I believe, are Jamie Magnus-Stone, or is the first one Jamie Magnus-Stone? The 2 directors I know are Jamie Magnus-Stone and Azur Salim. I don't know which episodes they're doing. I'm pretty sure Jamie Magnus-Stone is episode 1 though. I really hope Davros gets a radical storyline to revitalise the character in a new way. Maybe divorced of the Daleks. That'd be, yeah, quite interesting. I go. For some reason, when you said divorced of the Daleks, I was just imagining like a custody battle for the Daleks between like Davros and like the Dalek Emperor. My mind goes to some weird places. Is Jodie regenerating in this season? Not this season, but the specials that come after it. So this is her last full season or series, and then we'll have 3 specials next year, and then she will leave, and then we'll have someone else, which is whoever RTD decides to cast, which could be anyone, for all we know. Doctor Who Divorce of the Daleks. I'd love a solo Davros story, yeah, in the vein of Davros from Big Finish. I love that story. I do agree. That would be very, very cool. Think it'll be a TARDIS explosion regen, or a new thing, or a classic thing. I'd like a different regeneration. Not necessarily, like, it doesn't have to be classic, or even, you know, you could even keep the yellow, but maybe have them regenerate on the floor. I think Jay said that once. Or just, I don't know, I just want a new regeneration type. So Russell is, no, Russell's not doing a Jodie Whittaker story. So it'll work how it did with, like, say, for example, you know, Twice Upon a Time, or To a Woman Who Fell to Earth, or End of Time to 11th Hour. I mean, to be fair, if Jodie does come back for the 60th, then I guess you could say that then he would be, but it's not guaranteed that that'll be the case. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up this stream a little bit. We're just going to try and be like a little short one to give you all some raw thoughts before Series 13 begun. But yeah. I think the Doctor Who Missing Episodes team should do a full animated series based on John Hurt in the Time War. I'd like to see that, but I think it's just a budgetary thing. If Davros were to return, do you think Julian Roberts would return once more? Arguably, I think he's the best actor for Davros, closely followed by Derek Malloy. I think he would. I think so, yeah. Maybe a Sparky regeneration where instead of fire, the sparks come gradually out instead. Yeah, something like that maybe. Just something different. I've been watching the first few episodes of BBC's His Dark Materials, and I think having a feeling that the titles for the show will be a huge influence to the new title sequences for RTD's new series. Interesting. Do we also think, here's another question, Series 13 related, do we think we're going to get a new title sequence? Is that something we think is happening? Because some people do, some people don't. I think there's a chance, you know, because there's a lot of that whole rainbow aesthetic going on in the marketing. I reckon we might have a Flux-specific title sequence, which would be quite cool. I'd love to get the TARDIS in it. Like, if we do have a new one, please let there be the TARDIS in it. Like, I really want a new title sequence that has the TARDIS in it. We're having a few conflicting ideas here. Some people saying yes, some people saying no. I don't think the music will change. I just think that the visuals might change. Title variant, but not a complete new thing. Yeah, I think that's quite likely. Drop the fire regeneration effect, bring on a lightning effect. That'd be quite cool. Kind of like what they did in the TV movie, but more dramatic, I guess. Yeah, no, that'd be quite cool. I think it's possible we'll get a different title sequence. Maybe the Flux subtitle added in. I think that would look a bit cheap, though, if they did the same title sequence and just added in the Flux subtitle. I almost think you kind of need a new one if you're going to incorporate Flux into it. But I could be wrong. But yeah, so final thoughts on Series 13. We'll have to wait and see, really. Like, I'm trying to be as optimistic about it as I can, but time will tell. It always does. But thank you all for tuning into this brief stream. Be sure to watch the playbacks. Also, if you want to watch my latest video, I'm going to link that very quickly. Give me 1 sec. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a real fun, quick stream. I'll be doing, obviously, more content as the days progress, for obvious reasons. So yeah, look forward to that. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy what I have cooking up, or what will be cooking up, I guess, when the series starts. Because, well, there's a lot coming naturally. Hang on, let me just pause this here. Copy this. So yeah, if you want to watch my latest video after that, do that. That'd be pretty cool. And I will see you all in a little bit. Thank you all for tuning in. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.